Mitch, let's start with you. What are some of, would you say, the first milestones that either with Kriya or perhaps even in your past experience with other companies, that needed to be outlined or addressed um, to even consider building your own facility? What were the top things that had to be agreed upon by the team?
Yeah, it's a great question. We spent a lot of time on it. Once we worked through the why, as you mentioned, and worked through our drivers of cost, speed, flexibility, critical mass in terms of workload, picking the location and developing the labor models were a big part of it. So we spent a lot of time thinking about where to build and what to build. So as Will just mentioned, picking a location with talent was really important to us. Picking a location with good supply chain accessibility for everything from suppliers and vendors, construction, raw materials, all of those things weighed into our decision. For us, it was pretty clear we're going to be in the U.S., but I would just add, if you're thinking about rest of the world, you also need to think about regulatory and intellectual property and financial concerns and financial restrictions. I've been burned there a couple of times in my past lives. Implementation type is another big one. So is it greenfield and new construction? Is it brownfield and renovation? Or are you stick building or modularizing the facility? All of those are questions we asked ourselves. All of that balanced back to our gap assessment of what we were trying to solve for. I would also just point one more thing. We were really focused on deploying our capital efficiently. As a small startup with limited funds, we wanted to make sure we were building fit for purpose and not overbuilding or being too optimistic and thinking about, at the time we're barely a research company. We got our initial funding. We shouldn't be thinking about phase 3 and launch just yet. So really making sure you develop a two-way communication with your executive team and your board of directors, your investors, and an open dialogue on risk and constantly seeking continued alignment. Once all those are in place, then and you can identify your location, then you kind of get into the nitty-gritty of finding a site that meets that fit for purpose design and your timelines.
Yeah, good. Okay. And Will, I have the same question for you. And I suspect that some of your responses will be in line with what Mitch described as, Kriya having been a startup and what they went through. But Kite's in a different state. And so, what were the milestones that were outlined and addressed from Kite's perspective? Because now we're talking about, we have FDA approved therapies from Kite with multiple locations for manufacturing. In the outset, what were the considerations for Kite for choosing to build?
Yeah. So okay. So in the onset, right, this was very much along the lines of what Mitch just described, right? Location, having access and all that kind of stuff, and having the first facility for launch ready to go, together with the infrastructure around us, meaning how do the considerations are how do patients have access to the therapies we make, and it is associated with partnerships that we have with in our case it is oncology centers, like the mainstream oncology centers. We work with north of 300 hospitals across the world at this point, and we have a wide network of those. So the supply chain part between the hospital and the facility is always the top consideration. Do we have access to an airport? How long will cells that we harvest from a patient be in the air before they reach our facility? And how long will they be in the air after the cryopreservation, after the manufacturing process, until they go back, to that treatment center and reach the patient? So those considerations for us were very important. And so that's the strategy behind finding locations where we would be best suited to reach a maximum population of patients. So we decided to stay near airports, and then we bought or found the real estate or even an already existing building So working in this industry, you have a couple of different options on how you build. You can get a prefab type of pod system that you put into an empty shell that's like a warehouse, and you put these pods together, and every one of them is autonomous, has their own air handler, and hosts a suite, and with several workbenches and whatever equipment you need in there. So that's an option that is cost efficient as well as highly flexible, because you can change those pods pretty much by themselves, right? Individually, in any way you want or you need, to support manufacturing operations for different types of products that need to be segregated from each other. So there is a potential there. If you choose to build, completely stick, if you want, right? Greenfield, you have a brand new building going up. We did that as well, and configure it internally with whatever suite configuration you want or you need. That option is going to take a little bit longer, but it gives you a higher degree of fit for use, if you want, than work with prefabricated, pods, due to the fact that you have control over the space that you actually give individual suites to do that. So milestones, having the shell ready, looking at what the configuration internally looks like, being done with construction, right? Those are the startup parts. Having the layout in a way that supports whatever clean room classification you're looking for in your manufacturing process, right? That has impact on surfaces, has impact on flooring, has impact on the ceiling parts, has impact on wires and pipes that go through your building. How you need to tuck them away, so to speak. You have from a labor perspective, you want to have whatever is required to reach a comfort level, right, for your operator population, rather than just have them sit in a completely artificially lit environment. For us, it was important to have daylight available and be as pleasant as an environment as in any way possible for our operators. And then that is adding things, right? Adding time and is a milestone. The administrative availability, but then there is the entirety of the manufacturing space. You need to have qualified environment. You need to balance your facility out from an air handling perspective with pressure cascade. You need to really look at containment rather than GMP classification in general. And your rooms are all very small, so this is a lot of air handling capacity that you need to provide to that. Again, every room, every suite has their own air handler and complete air supply, segregated from every other suite. So those are really considerations that drive your construction schedule in a much different way than when you go and have a bioreactor hall and a purification suite.